Hi, this is Dr. Lance Knaub. I am the author of The 4% Breakthrough and also founder of Breakthrough Physical Therapy and Fitness, and more recently, Denali Consulting. In this episode of Business Growth Architect Show, I'm going to share all the things that my wife and I did to grow our physical therapy and fitness business from a 300 square foot sublet business to a 5 location, multi-million-dollar business where we were able to get paid commensurate for the roles we had, plus earn double-digit profitability, plus create a valuable asset that we were actually able to sell for a premium. And Beate and I also speak about strategic planning and the fast and functional jolt process, which I'm going to share the framework with you today if you listen to the end.
Hello, fabulous person. Beate Chelette here, the Growth Architect. Welcome back to the Business Growth Architect Show, where we bring you cutting-edge business strategies from some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, business transformation experts, and visionaries who want to help you to scale your impact. Look for one tangible strategy that you can take back and implement right away. And now back to our guest. And welcome back. This is Beate Chelette, the host of the Business Growth Architect Show. And today I have Dr. Lance Knaub with me on the call. And I literally was laughing when I looked at the notes of the show, Lance, because I wrote down, Lance is so smart. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And Beate, as I mentioned to you, my mental notes from our pre-call were that you were incredibly impressive and smart. And as I said to you, I think I must have dazzled you by pulling over on the side of the Philadelphia Schuylkill Expressway to make sure I made my meeting with you despite, change in plans.
Yes, so it's going to be a love fest today, is what we're trying to tell you, and it's going to be a very unique kind of conversation because you and I we had talked about elevating the giving principle, and we're going to dive into that a lot more. But before we get started, please tell our audience who you are and what you do and what brought you here.
Sure. So much to say. I'm trained as a physical therapist and, I grew up in York, Pennsylvania, humble beginnings on a 40-acre farm. And my dad was heating and air conditioning worker, HVAC, and my mom had and has MS and wasn't able to work. And, I was the first one in my immediate family to go to college and discovered physical therapy, which was the ultimate for me to help people recover and get healthier through the power of exercise and hands-on techniques. Really a wonderful profession. And to be a healer and able to offer so much to people has been incredibly rewarding. However, my first couple of years in physical therapy, my wife, Jody, and I were realizing that we thought that things could actually be better. And we were a little frustrated with the amount of volume that physical therapists were expected to see. And with that scheduling, therapists weren't able to use their gifts and do some of these hands-on techniques. So we really wanted to bring fitness and physical therapy together and make sure there was enough time for the manual or hands-on techniques. So we started to do a little research and percolate on starting our own business. And we got married in 2004. And when we got back from our honeymoon, we went for it and we subletted a little 300 square foot room from a boutique fitness center. And it was a roller coaster ride. It was an adventure. We had less than $2,000 in startup costs. And as you know, 300 square feet is the size of an average American bedroom. So we started small, we started frugal. We literally didn't invest in a copier and fax machine, even at that time when they were, fairly affordable. We walked next door to the Murphy's grocery store for 10-cent copies. And over time, I actually fell in love with the entrepreneurial part of things. Fortunately, we got off the ground. Fortunately, we, survived when we bought the fitness center and our landlords didn't offer us the same space. We had to find a new space and we went for 6,000 square feet, which is fairly large in our industries. And, we didn't have a business plan. We didn't have a strategy. I didn't know how to do that at the time. And again, we made it and I learned a lot of lessons, which I want to pay forward. And we took on our best physical therapists as partners. And I really thanks to good mentoring and, friends and mentors, I was mentored in the marketing business planning process and even development plan meetings. So I really wanted to help our people become their best selves, both personally and professionally. And one of our partners in a development plan meeting, probably around 2015, said they wanted to run the company. And I was shocked and startled. And I said, whoa. And then I took a deep breath and said, okay, this could, to myself, I said, this could be good. And for the next several years, we worked on exactly that. And in 2018, I handed off the CEO hat to one of our partners. And then I spread my wings a little bit and wrote a book and started paying it all forward to help other entrepreneurs. And that's really where my efforts are focused right now, doing coaching and consulting.
Yes, and not just did you have like one business, we also need to talk about that you then packaged it in a box and you were able to come up with a franchise type idea. And you said you had multiple locations. Want to talk a little bit about how big you grew it?
Yeah. So in 2021, when you really create an attractive business, a valuable asset, and I recommend for entrepreneurs out there listening to know from the beginning that a small business, in my opinion, is the best wealth generation tool. So know how to value it now, know all the metrics so you can grow it as a valuable asset. So in 2021, pandemic was where it was at that time. I mean, a lot of it was behind with vaccinations and things, but there was so much money flooded into investors' hands, like private equity and venture capital. Private equity had their eye on us and they wanted to speak to us. And our CEO, our operator, and our partners saw it as the best path forward, and they made us a incredible offer. And that was the next chapter that we partnered with a private equity backed company. So now we're part of a 45 location organization, and even our what they call a joint venture, our original 5 offices. When we partnered with them, we immediately became 6, and we just acquired another excellent company, and now we're 14 offices within our even region or joint venture. And as part of that whole scenario, has been fun for me because I'm actually coaching the leadership, the CEO, the COO, the regional directors. So yeah, that's the final chapter, Beata. Really, creating a valuable asset and partnering. The original plan is still a great one, and I'm probably going to, I want to share this with everyone. This will probably be a second book, which I want to work on this year because I feel like partnerships are an underutilized tool. So whether it be partnering with a bigger company like we've done or partnering and then remaining 100% independent, that's a great option that we can talk about as much as you like.
Yeah, I mean, I think partnerships are like a whole thing. I find partnerships very difficult. Maybe that's because I'm difficult. But there's a lot of horror stories about bad partnerships and friends that became partners and then don't have agreements and then one works more than the other and then they control each other and I mean this is like a big mess. So kudos to you for figuring this out because I think that's much needed. That there is more information on how to do that right. People fail at this probably at the highest rate of
Sure.
anything in business that I've seen. So I want to talk to you about something that you have talked about and hinted on is that you have this desire to give back. So it's interesting to point out that somebody who is as successful and as organized and strategic and system oriented as you are has this fuzzy, fuzzy, emotional soft peace, which of course I find amazing to talk about. So how do you how do you explain to our listeners who goes like, I'm not gonna hustle, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna charge hard, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna roll up my sleeves, it's gonna be work. And there you are, and you say, well, let's talk about the giving principle. Well, let's talk about the giving principle.
Yeah, so much here. I mean, I think What everyone needs to realize as entrepreneurs, and I was just listening to Impact Theory, and I just read an amazing book by called Wonder Drug by two physicians that are the co-CEO and the president of physicians of a local hospital called Cooper. And they did an evidence-based review. And the main point is that you will find fulfillment and happiness by serving others. So the research has been done, right? We need to, I feel like it's step one to know our purpose. And I'm not the only one saying this. It was great to hear Tom Bilyeu say this on Impact Theory and many others. So I feel like that's valid. And it's hard for entrepreneurs. Often we want to jump to kind of the company's mission or why, but I feel like people need to really take a step back and look inside themselves and decide what's important. And because, right, you could acquire wealth or acquire possessions, take a company public, whatever it is you're going for. But if you haven't really decided that first step, what's going to give you some satisfaction, what the biggest priorities in your life are, what your why is, your purpose, your reason, your cause, whatever you want to call it, so by doing that, and for me, it's helping entrepreneurs to avoid burnout, because part of my story in 2011, we just had our third child. We had three offices, about 30 employees, and I was working 80 plus hours a week and abusing my body, and my body finally revolted and stopped working, my digestive system. So I was fortunately able to pick myself back up, and it was only temporary. And, had to have an endoscopy, rule out cancer, celiac, Crohn's, pretty awful. But I was able to get through that and develop myself personally, which I'm speaking about now, develop our business fundamentals, and then weave in lifestyle to that. So it is possible, I believe, to actually stay healthy while you grow a business. And it's also possible to be ethical, have high character, and do some of these things like pay it forward and to have fulfillment and actually be the most successful. Because if you're not actually looking at it from the perspective of serving, I feel like not only will you not have that joy and fulfillment and happiness, but you'll probably not be successful, because if you're just looking at closing, people instead of serving them, it's a small but powerful mindset difference.
I'm so glad you said that. I watched Tony Robbins' documentary on Netflix, I'm Not Your Guru, and I really had. I mean, everybody knows Tony Robbins. I've never seen him or really participated in any of his stuff. I have a book and stuff, and then. But when I saw him, this is one thing that really, really resonated and stuck out. That unbelievable desire to make a difference and to help people, and it was so palpable. And as he talks about it, and then there's this moment where he actually talks to the filmmaker and he basically says, well, if you're doing this because you think you like talking to a guru, you better you better rethink this documentary. And it was just like such a short punch. And it made me really think that the aspect of the giving, right? I mean, we love closing and we love making the money and we love having people see us for the value that we bring, and the monetary compensation is a valuation of what we bring to the table. However, I think on a fundamental level, what you're talking about is, if you don't have a connection, I call this like a hook, right? I visually I envision a hook that goes into your, through your soul into your heart, that is so connected to what you do. That's like an anchor that's always there. If you lose that, you go to burnout.
Yes. Yes, this is connected to burnout. Yes, so amazing.
Yes. So now, how did you get to go to the giving principle? Because let me guess, when you were working 80 hours and now you're really sick and you have three kids, you have a wife, you have a relationship, a business, you want to grow, building expenses, and you don't feel good. It's not exactly like I would assume that you go, hey, let me give more freely because you already given everything. So how do you, what can we tell our audience to get that back in relationship?
Wow, that's a great question. You're right. At that moment, as many owners, right, we sacrifice so much and we pay ourselves last, right, instead of paying ourselves first. And we really are often left unhealthy and without an asset and without, you know, cash flow, so it's really rough. So I think getting it right from the beginning is most important. And what I would say is, you know, decide what's most important to you, commit to it. And in my 4% breakthrough, my book process, chapter 5, step 5 is where the rubber meets the road. It's called a success schedule. It's really a time map or, a template. And you've got to, after you've done this introspective work, you've got to commit to it in writing, on paper. And that's where you're going to put your non-negotiables: time for your kids, your wife, your family, your sleep, your nutrition, your exercise, whatever your non-negotiables are, working on the business and not just in the business. And you're going to commit to them and you are going to do your best to keep 80% of that. It's not going to be 100%. But if you do not have some guardrails, you are going to go off the tracks. So you need to decide what is the most important priorities and make a commitment to that, because it's very easy just to sleep usually gets sacrificed first, and your relationships, it all gets sacrificed. And then, you're left in flames.
I heard a really great quote um, once a long time ago, and he said, "When I realized that my family was getting in the way of me working more, I knew I had a problem."
For sure. For sure.
And I think this is so spot on to what we're going through. I have now realized that, I cannot compromise sleep, because if I don't sleep, I have migraines, and I have to be really careful with my brain and really watch my head like a hawk, because, I'm a high thinker, and there's always stuff going on, and it's always so much activity that if I don't sleep and I don't calm my brain down, it's really dangerous for me. Like I get in real trouble. And so I think that what you said is that calendaring it and the setting of the priorities, if it's not on your calendar, you're not gonna get it done. So if you meditate, or if you give, if you volunteer, if you're conscious about something, you gotta put it in the calendar. Otherwise, you're not gonna signal that it's gonna get done. So we're gonna talk about your strategy next, right after this quick message. Thank you so much for listening to the show. This is Beate, the growth architect. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for your time. Have you ever wondered why your business is not growing as quickly as you would like it to be? Well, you may have a business growth blocker. And if you'd like to find out what that business growth blocker is, go and take our brand new quiz at growthblockerquiz.com. And in only a few minutes, you're not just going to find out what that blocker is, but also what to do about it. Again, go to growthblockerquiz.com. And now back to the show. Beate Chelette back here with Dr. Lance Knaub, talking about the giving principle, elevating giving, and really being an amazing business owner with a balanced life and priorities set up straight. So one of the things that you do, Lance, is that you have a strategy that I think a lot of people do not understand, and it involves Clubhouse. So tell us about that and how that works.
For sure. And really, it connects to everything we've been speaking about. And even going back to 2018, when I was trying to figure out how I was going to spread my wings and what I was going to do next, I spoke to a franchise broker. I knew I wanted to diversify a little bit, I guess, from a business and investing standpoint, and not have all of my investments in a small business, a physical therapy and fitness company. And I realized I was too entrepreneurial for that. And I wanted to help other entrepreneurs. So I started Denali Consulting and started paying it forward, and did a mastermind group coaching with some entrepreneurs. And then really this group coaching, actually, as I was listening to the experts, Ryan Levesque with the Ask method, everyone's saying to find out the the pain points of your targets, your ideal client, your avatar. And I was following all the expert advice, and it was very difficult, right, to actually find out what are their biggest challenges. And one, Clubhouse was starting to go viral. You couldn't even get in. And some great friends of mine, Jeremiah Fox, had a room, and everybody was doing their thing. And it resonated with me to feature an entrepreneur. And the other entrepreneurs that I could rally up as part of my inner circle, we'd be part of the expert panel, and we would spend a full hour serving them. And not only did we, me personally, really get to learn what some patterns were of their challenges and pain points. It was total transparency. Obviously, they got served in a massive way, just really um, putting it all out there so that people in all industries and all backgrounds, everyone who was there, could help them. But for me, it was great to see the patterns. And it is interesting. I'll just share what I've seen now over 2+ years of doing this. Probably 90% of the, of people, the conversations migrate, if they don't even start there, but they migrate towards marketing and lead generation. And I guess the one thing I would say to that is, in John Lee Dumas's words from podcasting world, Entrepreneurs on Fire, be better, not bigger. In my words, it would be operations equals marketing. So really what I mean by that is make sure your product is so damn good, because if for some reason somebody turned on a magic faucet and you had all these, leads come in, if you're not good enough to handle that, even in like our physical therapy world, if we had a magic inflow of, 20 new patients today, if we weren't good enough, our numbers would still go right back to the same thing next week, because we're not over delivering on all that, and we're just not built for all that. So yes, we've been using Clubhouse, Denali, for a couple years now, and it's been amazing. And really, as I was thinking about us today, I knew we were going to talk about this. 3 new clients that just joined me that I'm supporting recently. 2/3 of them went through Clubhouse because I use it as a relationship developing tool. But really, probably on average, 75% of the people that I'm supporting and working with were guests on Clubhouse. So by serving them and just being ultimately completely generous and not expecting anything back with my time, that's part of what I've been setting up, that's really been serving others well, and of course, then ultimately serving me well.
Yes, and I think that what you just mentioned, Lance, is really important to point out in even greater detail, because I I have a real issue with people utilizing every time they're out there in, any kind of social media setting as a opportunity to market relentlessly. So there's a fine line. And can you talk to that a little bit about talking about what you do and making it too salesy? So how do you manage that? Because, oh yeah, I can help you with that. When you sign up for my, oh yeah, I have $1,000 program for that. Oh, my online course solves that. So what can we tell the audience that is listening? How do you walk that fine line?
My mind goes to last weekend. I was at an amazing conference that came back in person, Perform Better, and Chris Poirier does an incredible job. And one of the speakers, Martin Rooney, physical therapist who moved into the fitness world, and he's licensed his training for warriors in 32 countries, and I think he has 300 locations. And he's incredibly passionate about coaching. He just wrote his second or third book on coaching, which I immediately bought. And one of the things he said was, coaching is the greatest job in the world, is one thing he said. And then one thing that I always say is, your success is my success, right? So the people you support, let's highlight them. And this is the answer to your question, in my opinion, by just showcasing your results and the people that you're actually helping to achieve their personal goals. If you do more of that, it's all going to fall into place. Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree. I've been reading this book about something called the Challenger Sale, and I'm following, a sales trainer, and there is always this point where you go, there is a there is a part where the sale isn't the final piece. The sale is the beginning of the relationship.
1,000%.
So people go like, yeah, I got them in the online program. They're taking the online program. Now things are good. They're done. That's not the way this works. The way it works is that you are creating this relationship. And then once you have the sale, that's when you really start building this relationship. You know, I I had this weird vibe, one of my clients, and I kept thinking about her, and I finally called her and I said, "What's going on with you?" I just and she wasn't in any program at the time, but her name kept popping in. It's like I had a complete breakdown, I fell off the cliff. I had residual stuff from the burnout I had before. I didn't know what I was going to do. And, and then I just spent 15 minutes with her just talking about where she was and what came out of this. And she thanked me so profusely. She says, "I cannot believe you did that." And this genuine care, right? So how do you show people when you work how you genuinely care about them? Anything we can share?
Yeah, I think you can't fake it, right? If you don't generally care about who you're serving now, you're not serving the right people, and you don't have your purpose and passion figured out. So if you've gone down a path of you know something that you think can be really financially lucrative and successful, but you don't have the passion and you don't generally care, unfortunately, you have 0% chance of making it work, because as soon as you hit some friction and it gets rough, you're not going to be able to power through. You have to be so passionate and so caring, and people can feel that in person through video conference. They can tell 100%. So you have to decide, step one, again, who you want to serve, what you love, whether it be, antique cars, helping entrepreneurs overcome burnout, whatever it is, your industry and your niche, everything has to be aligned. So yeah, you can't fake that. You just need to decide that. And then, I don't know, there's more to this. Something else I was going to say, but, that's the main part, Beata, that I really
Yeah,
feel
I
is
think it's the
important.
difference between going wide and going deep.
Yeah.
And you know, we just looked at our numbers for our CRM, and we saw that we had the option that we had like 600,000 capacity to send emails for 600,000. And I sat down and I said, "Do I even want that? Is that even the type of business that I want to be in?"
Right.
Sending 600,000 emails. Now, there's some people out there that would say, "Oh my God, please don't let that deal go. That is the greatest deal ever." And I made a conscious choice because at this point, it is about deeper, not wider. So I think that's a really important piece for our listeners to look at when you say, decide who you want to be. Do you want to go deep or wide? And there's no judgment on which you want to go. I mean, it's a business strategy podcast. You can do however you want to run your business. You can create that and set up that business model. But I believe, to your point, and that's where you and I are very much aligned with our philosophy, is that unless you have that passion for what you do, it's not fun. It just isn't. So for somebody who now goes, "Bring it on, Lance, where can we find you?" And somebody who says, "Can I go to Clubhouse and get that hot seat?" Where do we send them?
Yeah. So if you go to Clubhouse and you follow me, you could write to me through Clubhouse, or you can email me at drlanceknaub at denaliconsultingteam.com and let me know you're interested in Clubhouse. On all socials, Dr. Lance Knob. And I've got a private Facebook group called the 4% Breakthrough, that named the same as my Amazon bestselling book. And I do have an offer for the community listening here, for the audience. What I spoke about is I realized that with strategy that 90+% of entrepreneurs don't have a plan in place, unfortunately. So I boiled it down to what I call fast and functional plan. It's what I call a jolt business plan. And we do start with that purpose or that why, and then we move into the company mission and your vision and, do some high level things and then take it right down to your actions, which is the most common mistake. Entrepreneurs want to go straight to actions and not be strategic, which is why Beate and I are so aligned. So anyone who wants to see the framework for that, if you go to denaliconsultingteam.com/strategy, you can see that. For the real action takers who actually put in the work and write it out, email that to me and I will spend a complimentary 20 minutes with you to help you fill in all the gaps on your high level thinking.
Yeah, and that's a very, very generous offer, and I like that you ask them to do the action first, and when they do the action, then they'll get to talk to you. So take Dr. Lance now up on his very, very generous offer and get the book and sign up for everything. He's the real deal. So it's been absolutely phenomenal to talk to you. I thank you so much for being here. I mean, we may have to do this again.
1,000%. I love our alignment on strategy and strategic thinking and planning and being aligned on all levels, being high character, quality humans who happen to also be incredible entrepreneurs as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And it goes right back to you. And so there you have it. This is today's show. Thank you so much for listening. And please share this with one other person who needs to hear what we talked about today. And thank you and goodbye. And that's it for us today. Thank you for listening and watching the Business Growth Architect Show. I enjoyed having you here. And for accountability, just take one of the strategies that you have heard, one thing that you can implement in your business immediately. Please leave comments. Don't forget to like and share this show. And if you have any questions about business, please put them in the comments. We are here for you. We're here to support you and help you to grow, build, and scale your own business. For more advice, please check out our website in the show notes below. Thank you again. This is Beate Chelette, the Growth Architect, and goodbye.